Hi guys, and welcome to my weekly chat for this last episode of The Walking Dead. I was getting ready for my S.H.I.E.L.D., my reaction to the 100th episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I literally realized that I didn't film this yet. But I have my notes all here. Yeah, I just was like, of course, and I took the most notes. I loved this episode. I thought there was so much character development. I cannot wait to get into it. And this is the most notes I think I've taken for any of the episodes so far this season. I just felt like there was a lot of nuances in this episode that I really loved. The first thing that I am going to say though, the number one thing that I love about The Walking Dead is the fact that there are so many different characters, and some of us identify with certain characters, others identify with other characters. I love that, you know, if you ask anyone, they'll probably give you a different, like what are your who are your top 3 characters? They'll probably give a very different top 3, every single person. Just because one person likes a certain character or agrees with a certain character or whatever, we don't have to be so negative and nasty about it. I've just noticed it a lot just in like Twitter or somewhat in the comments of my video and stuff like that. People were just getting really aggressive about stuff. So let's, you know, when we chat about these things, let's all just, it's okay. Like, I feel like I'm doing a fucking public service announcement. Like, let's all be kind to one another. But anyway, that's just my own little thing about that. Okay, what I did love in my note-taking of this episode is that everything was made up in segments for each of the characters, and so I kind of just went with that, and it really helped my note-taking for this, so I'm kind of excited about that. Okay, so I'm just gonna get right into it because I have to get through this. Okay, so we're gonna start with Michonne. That was the first person that they focused on. I liked that they showed that she was still protective of Alexandria. Michonne, Alexandria, specifically the place, meant a lot to Michonne. I feel like if you go back and you think about the fact that she, you know, even when they first arrived and Rick and her were talking, like, you know, Woodbury was quiet and Terminus was quiet, and then they realized Alexandria wasn't quiet. And when Deanna like appointed her as one of the constables, am I saying that right? I think, and she was really loving it, taking it seriously. She formed quite a nice bond with Deanna. Alexandria, just in general, I feel like, you know, that's when her and Rick finally, you know, got together. I feel like she really felt like she solidified her family there and kind of found a lot of happiness. And of course, losing Carl was the biggest blow to her. I did like that they did put in that thing where she like closed the door to Alexandria. There are walkers in Alexandria. A lot of it's burning down and stuff, and she still wanted to kind of close the door so more walkers couldn't get in. I liked that they you know, and they did fight so hard to keep that place like in No Way Out. So I thought so many little things. Finding the handprints was really, I felt emotional. I think the putting out of the fire, I think it's so easy for a lot of the audience to say like, oh, come on, we don't have time for this. But, you know, I think they did dedicate an entire episode to everybody saying goodbye, not everybody, but, you know, to us saying goodbye to Carl and Rick and Michonne in particular. But I think we're going to have a few moments where they grieve. And I think that was kind of her weird way of trying to grieve a little bit, was to save something that meant something to Carl. And I think that was the point of that. Also, and I put this, I cut it from my reaction because I said it and I was like, people are gonna think I'm so stupid. But I really felt like when they were packing up the car, Rick and Michonne, and he took, I don't think it's the same one. I even Googled images because I'm crazy, but I think he put this like really big orange backpack in the van, and I just thought, like, was that an homage to the backpack that him, Michonne, and Carl found in Clear that we saw? Like, somebody, like Glenn had it for a very long time, and like that orange backpack just like really was with the group for a very long time. And I can't remember if they had it coming into Alexandria, but I don't know if that was actually an homage, because it was kind of a significant episode for the 3 of those characters. So but I wrote it down, and you guys can tell me that I'm just crazy. I did like the way that they were showing Rick in the cars, scenes in the car. It shows him that he's still trying to process everything. Well, not just the fact that his son just died. I mean, and that's, I feel like I feel like his brain is probably just a big old mess. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying to process the fact that his son just died, but also like he's trying to like move on. He's got so much on he needs to make sure that his people get to Alexandria, the hilltop. He wanted to try to find the trash people to see if that was a good resource for them. And I said resource for a reason, I'll get to that. But I think he's still trying to process what he thinks Carl meant. And I love that it's not just clear cut, because, you know, they are in a war. It's not like you can just go over and, you know, be like, I'm sorry, you know, and like everything's great and like nobody's gonna murder anybody, you know what I mean? I think that you know, it's kind of interesting that he's really trying to figure out what Carl actually meant while still trying to cope with the grief. So he's probably not rationalizing it too well in his brain. Like a lot of people pointed out, you know, the whole leaving Jadis thing, which I will get into. But the whole leaving Jadis thing, that's probably not what Carl would have done. But I think Rick is, he's going through a lot right now. He's dealing with some shit. But I loved the fact that they used the line, "They're ours, not theirs," talking about the trash people. At this point in that car going to the dump, or whatever you want to call it, trash land, Rick definitely sees the trash people as a resource, like Negan sees the trash people. I think they both kind of had weirdly similar ideas, where it's like, we need to make sure that they're on our side because we need numbers. We don't give a you know, like and at the moment, I think they were all trying to overlook the whole betraying back and forth, like especially Negan, and I'll get to that in a second because the next part is Negan. But it was interesting, and I don't blame Rick for only seeing them as a resource. I don't think he's supposed to have any sort of sympathy towards these people after he was shot by their leader and then left at the sanctuary second time. You know what I mean? I just, you know, but I just thought that was really well done to put in that line right there. Okay, now we're going to go into the Negan section. So, obviously, one of the main things with Negan and that kind of side, the Saviors, is that Simon is just getting insanely impatient. And I believe that there's so much more to Simon's backstory than, like, anybody really knows at this point. I mean, the theory is that he killed the men at Oceanside. That makes perfect sense to me. I'm sure we'll get a flashback seeing that at some point. And, you know, when Negan kind of said to him, you know, are we backsliding again? I'm assuming Simon did something that kind of really pissed off Negan. Okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because we all are a little, you know, Simon's a little too crazy. But let me just try to play devil's advocate from Simon's side for a second, because I really liked the conversation between Simon and Negan. I thought it was really important. What he said, you know, Negan kept saying, you know, take one out, the rest will fall in line. And that's, he says that over and over again. We've heard him say this so many times. And I kind of liked when Simon said to him, maybe we learn our lesson. You know, not it's they learn their lesson, we learn our lesson. You know, take one out, the rest will fall in line. Okay. You actually took 2 out for Rick's group, right? And they started a rebellion. This is devil's advocate. I'm not entirely thinking that Simon has a rational. I'm just trying to, the point of these weekly chats is to really get into it. And I hope that you guys understand that. Sometimes I like to look at both sides. And so I think there is a bit of frustration with Simon where he really, I mean, which is kind of psychotic, that he really just wants to just like murder all of them and be like, you know, that's what you get. That's what you get for fucking with us, you know, like you don't fuck with us, whatever. And Negan is really, really, I think it's interesting because I think Negan really has to cling on to the idea that he saves people. If his people, and what I mean by this is if his people do not believe that they're being saved, do you know what I mean? They're not going to stick by him any longer. They're going to be like, fuck you. Like that, they're living kind of under his empire, whatever you want to call it, because they're guaranteed safety. If they're not guaranteed safety, and I think Negan knows that, you know, like he can't just go around murdering a bunch of people because that's the mentality that people have that follow him or that live under his rule. And I just want to know what you guys think. Not so much about Simon, because I think he's going to crazy land. But what do you guys think about the kill one and then everybody falls in line? Is that system working? I don't know. I mean, the kid, even with the kingdom, and that was kind of a more messy situation, but the thing with the kid, and that really kind of rallied the troops with the kingdom. I mean, I think that it's kind of interesting to kind of look at it that way. Negan, you know, idea of saving people. I did like the way that he kind of brought up the whole, like, there's an easy way and a hard way. Carl was talking about that as well. I loved that. And he said, once I clip Rick, everything is aces again. And I'm not entirely sure that that's true. I don't necessarily mean like if just Negan gets a lucky shot and kills Rick, does that mean everybody is just going to be like, all right, let's go home, war's over? I don't know. I mean, you guys can let me know what you guys think of that. I don't particularly believe that that would be true. So I think Negan is playing things pretty smart at this point. But I do think that there are some things that I'm like, I don't think your system is working maybe as well as you think it is. Does that make sense? Just that's devil's advocate for that. Oh, and I had a random thought. Let me know if they mentioned it or something and I just missed it. But what do we think happened to Regina? I was just thinking about that. I was like, he was not pleased with her because she shot one of their people. So did he just kill Regina? We just didn't see it. What do you guys think about that? Sorry, I don't even know why I wrote that down on this, but I did. Anyway, what do I... Yeah, I mean, Negan is not just dealing with a war, but with people like Simon questioning his decisions, which probably doesn't make him feel all that comfortable at this point. I really hope that they kind of go through a lot of the mentality of Negan and flesh that out a little bit more moving forward. All right, moving on to Enid. All right, so I like that she kind of realized, like kind of right off the bat, that killing is the punishment. I liked that it didn't take her a really long time killing a lot of people, you know, like she is going to have to live with that burden, and I really like, and that she you know, I think kind of flipped it on them and saying, you know, like, if you kill us, that's going to be the punishment for you. I think Enid was saying some pretty smart stuff. I like that she threatened them with the fact that their group will come looking for them, and then, which may not be true because I don't think anybody knows where they went, but, but you know, they don't need to know that. And, you know, that they will, you know, wipe them out, and I liked that. And, she did a big emphasis on the difference between friends and enemies. I liked that as well. I thought that was pretty, a lot of the stuff that, the dialogue that Enid was saying was just, I felt decent enough to handle the situation to get her and Aaron out alive. So, at the end of the day, I absolutely, totally, completely believe that Aaron will convince Oceanside to help in some sort of way. I don't think they're gonna write a story where Aaron goes off, hangs out in Oceanside for a while, and then just nothing comes of it. You get what I'm saying? I feel like they wouldn't do that. But whereas he kind of said, I won't go back there to Enid, if you guys remember. She was like, oh, you can't go back there. He's like, I won't go back there. I'll go to Enid, whatever. And where do you guys think that Aaron is actually going? And how do you think he's going to approach trying to work on this? But at the end of the day, I totally think, you know, I said this in my reaction that, like, you know, Aaron won over the craziest of Rick. No, okay, you know, but that wasn't the craziest of Rick, but one of the crazy Ricks, you know, where he had the crazy beard and he was like, eat the applesauce. And Aaron was like, okay. So, you know, he swayed them. He'll be fine. He's really good at that. And just a note that I'm so worried for Enid in the next episode, because it looks like she might find out about, you know, Carl, and we're not excited about that. Okay, moving on to Simon. So I kind of already talked about Simon a little bit, but we're just going to kind of get into it a little bit more. I loved the acting between Simon and Jadis in that scene. He looked maniacal, he looked angry, and you can tell that there was a bit of frustration with Simon's character. Like, he's really sick and tired of people stepping out of line. You can totally tell that he is not here for it. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, fuck all of these people. We are, and there is a certain, in a sense, I do not think him murdering all of the trash people was really the smartest thing for him to ever do in his life. But you could kind of see where it's kind of boiling over for him, because it's like, we've got a rebellion from, you know, like the hilltop and the kingdom and Alexandria, and, you know, however well we're doing in that war, not regarding that, but just regarding that it happened. And then, you know, these trash people think that they can just flip, flop, whatever. I think he's just so angry because he's kind of the one that sent out a lot to be kind of that intimidating force, like, we're gonna fuck you up. And I think he's really good at it. I whenever he showed up, I didn't like the whole season 6 finale made me want to vomit, and it was because we just kept running into Simon and he was blah, 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 oh my god. So I mean, do you guys get what I'm saying with that? You can kind of see throughout the scene, and I thought the actor Steve did so great with that scene where he kind of, you could see that he is just done with it, and then he has this kind of maniacal smile at the end of it all. Like, it is just, he felt on top of the world as he was like teaching a lesson to these guys, you know what I mean? In the way that he wants to, not in the way that Negan wants to. That's going to come and bite him in the ass, but I thought it was brilliant acting. Same with Jadis. I felt you could tell she was horrified and really just distraught, and they just handed over all their guns. Simon said, what's the deal with the helipad in the back? So is the helicopter something to do with the trash people? Are they an outpost for something bigger? What do you guys think? Is there something more to the trash people than we know? I mean, we did see a helicopter flying around, and I don't believe that it's Negan's helicopter. I feel like he would have made use of that at some point. Maybe not, but I just don't think, although Simon did say in a previous episode, the flyers. So let me know what you guys think about the helicopter and what's going on with that. But I thought it was interesting that he said, what's the deal with the helipad in the back? It would be interesting if the trash people were an outpost for something else and Jadis is going to come back and like murder everybody. I just have this last bit for Simon's part. Is Simon is doing a fantastic job of becoming a great villain. His face at the end of that scene gave me chills, and that's true. It happened. All right, let's go into Jadis, shall we? All right, so I think there might be something else going on with the trash people. It could go either way. I like that we don't really know. It could be like we may see her once again. A lot of people have the theory that she's going to become alpha. Let me know what you guys think about that. It's a theory that's getting a lot of traction, and I can see it. Like, if anybody's gonna like get into some like dead, you know, the Walker, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she would do it. You know? It's art. But like all right, this is when we're going to just, everybody's gonna come for me. Everybody's gonna come for me. But this is my opinion. Do I feel bad for Jadis? Yes, 100%. That sucked. I feel bad for her. Do I think slightly, maybe, you know, if you keep flipping sides, eventually some bad shit might happen to you? Yeah, I believe that as well. Do I blame Rick for leaving her? No. Now, let me explain, because I think at this point, with Rick's mental state, with everything with that, he just lost his son. And he's worried about his people. It doesn't look like they're gonna have a great time in the next episode. Did you guys see that shit? I'll be like, what in the world? That does not look fun. But anyway, I think he's still going through some stuff. And I like that, you know, maybe he didn't make all of the best decisions in this episode and stuff, because of the fact that I feel like he's still trying to cope. He's still trying to figure shit out. But the thing is that, like, they come across the trash people. They throw him into a pit with Winslow. Good old Winslow. He fights. He proves himself. You got a deal. Then she double crosses him. She shoots him right through the stomach or side or whatever it was. You know, basically, you know, Team Negan at that point. Then he goes, tries to convince her to make another deal, even though she did shoot him. She says sure. They go to the sanctuary. First sign of trouble, she hightails it out of there. Now, I mean, it doesn't really seem like these trash people have a ton of loyalty to anybody. Unless they are an outpost. Sorry, I'm like thinking through this myself. If they are an outpost, then maybe they really just don't care. Maybe they think that they know that they have a bigger something else going on. I don't really know if that's going to be the case. But honestly, he's so over dealing with her. I got shit to do. There's a war to fight. I gotta go to the hilltop. I gotta see if Maggie's okay, because everybody got hit, and I don't think he doesn't really know what happened. He doesn't know what's going on at the hilltop, and everybody's kind of heading there, and he just lost his son. Do I want to deal with Miss 1-2 betray? gonna take a pass on that, and I can't really blame him for that. So that's how I feel about that. I know so many absolutely disagree. That's fine. We all can disagree on things. That's just how I feel about that. You know, it's like one of those, like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. I mean, I don't know. I absolutely, though, feel awful for Jadis myself. I'm just trying to say I don't really blame Rick for being like, I'm sorry, but no. I do like the fact that he did the same thing where he shot over her head. He just wanted her to be gone. I think Rick has a lot on his plate right now. And they took a pretty big hit in the war, and then he took a pretty big hit just in general with Carl. And I loved that later on, I think I'm jumping a bit, but where he was in the car and he was like, I just wanted her gone. And you can tell that he's not dealing with everything so well right now, and I don't really blame him. But, and he's just like, I just couldn't deal with it. I am interested to see if maybe they will eventually extend some sort of, try to extend some sort of olive branch to Jadis. I'm not sure that they will, but I think at the moment Rick just couldn't, he just couldn't even, you know? I think leading her people to the garbage grinder disposal, whatever that was a pretty rough thing. But I like that, you know, she's smart. She figured it out, and she's figured out a way to kind of get them out. And so, I mean, the big question of this weekly chat is for sure going to be about the trash people. What do you think? Do you think they are just a bunch of kind of like, no offense, but weirdos, like painting and just sort of, you know, whatever, and they just don't want to bother anybody? Do you think they're a part of something bigger? And what do you think Jadis will do next? Do you think she's going to try to seek revenge on the Saviors? Do you think she's going to try to seek revenge on Rick? You know, and stuff like that. Let me know what you guys think, and where do you think her plot line is going and where her character is going. I found that to be really fascinating, because when I was watching it, I was like, I really don't know what they're going to do with her after this, and that got me really excited. I liked her a lot during this last episode. All right, moving on to good old Rick. A lot of the stuff I touched on, trying to process everything with Carl. I think, I mean, Andrew Lincoln is my favorite actor of the show, but I think it was really cool to kind of see, you know, him try to move on to the next thing, where he said, okay, the next smart thing to do is to go to the trash people, try to see if we can still get some numbers, we lost people or whatever. It seems like he's trying to keep, okay, while I think it's like slowly setting in. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a moment where he really is going to have a full-on breakdown. I think that might still be to come. I know that he's a little more used to loss than maybe when he lost Lori. So I don't think it's going to be like a season long. He's not seeing Carl in a white dress or anything like that. But I think he might, given this last episode and seeing how he was kind of doing mentally, I think we might have a moment coming where he's going to need to have a bit of a breakdown, and, you know, maybe, oh God, I can only hope like Maggie's going to be there, because greens are always good for that stuff. I always thought that. Okay. I believe Carl would have wanted to save Jadis, and I think, you know, that maybe that will probably come up again. I think, sorry, I'm just reading random notes that I made. The finale might contain a scene of Rick reading Carl's note to him. I feel like in the last, not that they have to do the same thing every year, but I felt like I really loved the fact that they did a good callback to both Glenn and Abe with the last season finale. You know, Abe was literally in flashbacks with everything with Sasha, but also Glenn, they did the watch and that speech at the end with Maggie, which always makes me cry, no matter how many times I rewatch that episode. And I think that maybe we might have a final, you know, Rick reading the note at the end of at the end of the season. I think it's going to take him a while to read the note, or maybe towards the end. I feel like maybe other people read their news and his will probably be last. Okay, so now we're going to go into Negan and Rick's talk. I talked about this a bit at the end of my episode reaction, so if I'm repeating stuff, I'm sorry. I loved the idea that they had a talk without the possibility of like a big shootout or one holding a lot of power over the other. It was the first time that they actually just talked, I think, and I really like that, without like somebody holding a ton of power over the other one. I really like that. I think people were so mixed about how they felt about this. You know, a lot of them were saying that Negan was right. A lot of them were saying, you know, that he was trying to monopolize on Rick's grief. You know, a lot of people were saying Negan didn't give a fuck about Carl. He almost killed him in the season 7 finale. And, you know, and kind of this back and forth, and everybody's been arguing. But so let me know what you guys think about that talk specifically. Do you agree with Negan? Do you do you think that Negan was actually broken up about Carl? I'll try to ask like actual questions here that you guys can answer. I think he was in a sense, because I think he really enjoys people. Like, I think he likes people. Like, even Sasha. Sasha came in, guns a-blazing. We didn't see it, which that kind of pissed me off. But, like, we didn't see it. But she was going around, like, shooting some people. I would assume she capped at least a few before they took her, right? And, like, Negan was like, I like you, you know? Like, he was like, you want to be on my team? And he's like, Carl is, like, gonna be part of my team. And, like, all that stuff. And he just, like, I feel like he really likes... He genuinely believes that he's saving people. He genuinely believes that. Now, I think where the fandom gets arguing about this stuff is, what do you guys think saving people is? Keeping them alive, like literally physically breathing, or like not living under a maniac's rule? You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's kind of where people are kind of clashing a little bit of how they kind of view it. Because I think that there are some people who would rather die than, you know, live under Negan's rule. That's most of the people who are at war with him. And then there are other people saying like, well, you know, those people, a lot of them are going to die and they're going to lose people that they love because they're going against this, you know. So let me know what you guys think about that and what you think is, I mean, I'm personally really on the Rick Alexander. There's no, I feel like there's no point in living the way that they were living, you know. When Michonne said it at the, or not at the end, but in last season, where she kind of convinced Rick that like, we can't live like this anymore. This can't be how we live. So let me know. How do you feel about Rick still wanting to kill Negan? Next question. I want to see it, obviously. I just really do. But I don't think that that's the direction the show is going. I think he will spare Negan at the end of the day. I think that that's where the show and the story is going, is that, you know, that's going to be the moment where he really realizes Carl's message. I feel like it's going to take him a second to really comprehend what Carl meant, and then he's going to spare Negan. But if I'm honest, I kind of hope he doesn't. And do you think that Negan's gonna kill Rick? Let me know if you guys think that that's going to happen. Let me know. I was not, obviously, you guys saw my reaction. No need to, you know, I do not think that Rick failed as a father. I think that that was the one, I think it's easier to make a case of how he's failed as a leader than failing as a father. I think that was the point where I was just like, all right. But there was a lot of comments telling me how wrong I was about that as well. So I'm sure some of you disagree. Well, Negan was saying how, like, if you weren't out, you know, fighting this war, then, you know, you would have been able to stop Carl or whatever. And it's like, I mean, Carl just randomly, I would kind of understand the argument if Carl died as a casualty of the war. Like if somebody shot him or something, like if that happened, it was the war. To me, I just don't see that. I think Rick has done nothing but do the best to keep his son alive, and you know, like he said, everything that he's done has been for Carl, you know, and so that's kind of, I feel like he's probably feeling a little bit lost at this point because, you know, what do you do moving on? So I think that I would probably say I don't agree with that at all. And Carl never stayed in the house, no matter what. Sorry. War or no war, Carl loved going up. Yeah, I mean, so, but let me know what you guys think about that, you know, like, do you agree with Negan, or do you think that that's ridiculous and Rick was a great father? I think he was a good father. I think he loved his son tremendously. And I think that particular part was Negan trying to break Rick a little bit. And I love that he said it's a hard lesson for you to hear it and stuff like that, because Negan's all about teaching lessons. We teach lessons and we save people. And that's kind of it. People are resources. I mean, we teach lessons, we save people, people are resources. Yay! And then everybody's happy, except no one's happy. Yeah. Let me know. I think that that's mostly it, and so this is kind of long, but it's shorter than I thought it was going to be. Do you think going to war, so kind of the big question here is, you know, whose side are you really on? Do you think, like, yes, Negan saves people, you know, he doesn't lead his people into battle, they did, you know, Rick has gotten more people killed, or do you agree with Rick's side of things where it's like we would rather fight and risk the fact that we might die so that we don't have to, you know, deal with a person who's, you know, bashing people's heads in and you know, and by the way, the whole just the devil's advocate for a lot of people who are saying, you know, like, well, Rick went in and killed all of his people. That's true, that's an accurate statement, but Negan did, you know, if Negan found Alexandria, I even said this then because I mean I read the comics and stuff when Rick and company kind of went in and stuff, and I was like, if Negan found Alexandria, it would have been the same thing. He would have lined him up, he would have beaten somebody, you know, that's what he did at the hilltop. If they didn't fall in line, and would you think that Rick's group would just fall in line right away, you know, and that would have happened again, or anyway. And so that's, but I like that the show makes it a little tricky, makes it a little like, well, Rick did go in and kill those people and all of this stuff. And so, I mean, I think, let me know what you guys think, because there's just been so much back and forth talk, and let's all try to be civilized in this comment section. We don't need to call anybody stupid, okay? Or anything like that. I'm not talking about me, but I just see you guys going back and forth and I'm like, dear Lord. All right, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this weekly chat. I loved this episode and it was just so much to talk about and I really, really loved it. So I hope that you guys loved it too. And yeah, I'm gonna go get ready for S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.